Huddle with Bill Michaels.
Good evening and welcome. We are broadcasting live. We are at Joe Mama's. That's where you can find us. We are here tonight and the Bill Michaels Huddle. We are coming to you live, brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. And tonight we get into the discussion of, well, to look forward to the Washington Commanders or look back to the week that was and the ugliness against the New York Jets. It just depends on which side of the fence you want to fall on. As I walked in today and started setting up, it was how do I put it? It was not a whole lot of people having a whole lot of faith in the Green Bay Packers at this point. And I understand it because they haven't looked good, but the season, as we know, is not over by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, so let's not get crazy here. Okay, you don't have Aaron Rodgers at practice today, resting up that thumb, but the Packers, this is a get-well game for all intents and purposes. It's the first game between Green Bay and Washington going back to 1932 is when the first one took place. The two teams met last year in Week 7 in Green Bay. Packers won that contest 24-10, if you remember. If the Packers score 24 or more in this game, it will be a good sign, considering they're one of the lowest scoring teams in the National Football League to this point. So we've been talking about it all week long and talking about it earlier today on the program. And it is, I guess, to say a little disconcerting, I guess, at this point, because the Packers overall, as a team, when it comes to scoring, they just have not been very good. They just haven't been very good. This team, when you start to look and you start to really scroll down the line, they're in the lower third. You take a team like, say, the Kansas City Chiefs, 22 touchdowns on the season, 17 receptions, 4 rushing touchdowns. The Green Bay Packers, you go down and down and down, and 12 touchdowns on the season, 9 receiving, only 3 touchdowns running the football. And remember, they had numerous opportunities, even go back to London, where they could have ran the football, and they chose not to. This team has been reliant upon the pass. They're 191 snaps in shotgun, only 35 under center. And I know the league is trending in that direction. I understand that. But overall, they just have kind of changed the offense a little bit. And from what it was supposed to be to what it is, it just looks bad. And as Aaron Rodgers said this week, you got to get back to simplification. I know that overall, Matt LaFleur said he doesn't know what that means. But in reality, it means the long calls, the long technical calls, the blocking schemes, some of the things that they're doing. You kind of like, hey, you got a guy in front of you, let's go with it. They're going to stunt, you shove them off, you get, it just get back to the basics and the fundamentals. Protect the quarterback, give him an extra second to throw the football. When the play breaks down is when Aaron Rodgers really is at his best, when he has the ability to get out of the pocket, get a couple of steps, see a guy open, throw to a spot, throw to an area where he's going to have success, and or the wide receiver running to that particular spot is going to have success. That's because right now nobody's getting open. There's not a whole lot of guys that are wide open, and there's not a whole lot of guys that have the capability to be wide open. So big challenge for the offense in the sense of, one, Washington has a good defensive front. Pretty good. So it's not going to be the same as what they faced against the New York Jets this past week, but Washington's got a pretty good defensive front. So it's not going to get any easier for them. But overall, the Packers should be able to put some points up. The Packers need to put some points up, get some confidence, and then kind of see how the remainder of the season goes. I know we're 13 days away from the trade deadline. We talked today as to who the Packers may or may not go after. I understand that. But I as of right now, nobody else is walking through that door. Sammy Watkins back at practice in a limited capacity today as well, which was good news. To try to get a wide receiver back, you'll lose Randall Cobb for an extended period of time. You're going to be able to get Sammy Watkins back hopefully sooner rather than later. And can you survive until that particular time? We don't know, but we know one thing. They're going to have to be able to give the ball more and more and more to Aaron Jones. He's going to have to be the bell cow. He's going to have to be the guy that becomes he's their best weapon. We all know. So he's going to have to be the guy that that becomes the weapon out of the backfield, the weapon, whether it's running the football or catching passes. He's got to get the ball in his hands more. Defensively speaking, we all know it is what it is. They got to be more aggressive. They look pretty good through 8 drives, only giving up 3 points this past Sunday. Then they get into the later portions of the ball game, and they have not had the same amount of success. So a big game in the sense of this weekend, the Green Bay Packers, one, need a win. They need to avoid the 3-game losing streak. And they're 2-2 against teams in the NFC this season. You got to get a win. You got to put them put the train back on the track, if you will. The Packers' point differential of plus 207 against NFC teams since 2019 ranks 4th in the league. But this year, scoring is down. They lost 23-7. Their biggest score of the season was 27 points in overtime to New England and to the Chicago Bears. Those are the only 2 games in which they scored 27 points. The rest of the time, it's been less. 7 points against the Vikings, 14 against the Buccaneers, 22 against the Giants, and only 10 against the Jets. And that's just so bizarre for an Aaron Rodgers-led team, right? Just so bizarre. And, I know that there's talk about, true West Coast style of offenses and motion and what they need to do. I think I agree with kind of Rodgers. You just kind of get back, run the football. I don't know if he likes it out of shotgun consistently, but you're going to have to run it under center just a little bit more. Get the running back, because you're one thing statistically is you're garnering more yardage per play under center than you are in shotgun. Now, granted, you ran 191 plays out of shotgun, so your sample size is much, much larger. I understand that, but you've had some success. And early on in games, the scripted plays have been pretty much the best. The first half has been dramatically better than the second half of games so far this season. So anyway, that being said, that's kind of where we're at as we get ready to head into the Packers and the Washington Commanders. The Commanders have their own issues right now with their ownership group. I know last week you get a very testy Ron Rivera talking about his player, talking about his quarterback, all the things that were said via the ESPN report regarding their owner, Daniel Snyder. They've got their own distractions over there, and now they've got a quarterback that's down. They're going back to a backup who was a starter, who's now a backup quarterback. So they've got if you can't win this game, then I don't know what game you're going to win or you'd even be favored in. And the only reason the Packers are looked at as legit, much like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at this point, is because of the quarterback. That's it. Because right now there's not a lot of dynamicness to this team. Their defense we thought was going to be good. We thought the personnel that they drafted specifically was going to do nothing but bolster this team, and things were going to be really, really good. And the defense has been run on. They are not a good defense when it comes to against the run. Their pass yardage, the defense against the pass yardage has been solid. But when you added Devontae Wyatt, you thought, okay, you're Quay Walker, very solid in the pass, not as great in the run. We all understand that. Okay, he's kind of lost when it comes to run protection, and offensive linemen have had their day with him. But Devontae Wyatt, he's not really been able to see the field consistently because Kenny Clark, Jerron Reed, Dean Lowry, they've been the mainstays. But Kenny Clark playing this many snaps, you're going to see him continuously wear down before it's all said and done. So up front, we thought they'd be better, and they're not. But their pass defense has been good, has been far better than maybe what we expected, or maybe exactly what we expected. Jair Alexander is extremely solid. They threw at him quite a bit last week. He had a hell of a game. And you've got Eric Stokes, who is, I think, maybe in his second year, maybe he's regressed a little bit, or he's been figured out a little bit, or maybe playing alongside Devontae or alongside Jair on the opposite side of Jair, or Rasul. Maybe it's just been used in different situations or not used properly, so to speak. So whether it's Joe Barry or someone else for that matter, whether it's the actual players on the field, defense just hasn't looked right. You still got solid play out of Adrian Amos in the defensive backfield. I like Darnell Savage. At times he does get lost, but I like the fact that he's a hitter and he likes to put his nose in there, and I appreciate that as well. But their defense is not the sack recording, run stuffing pressure machine that we thought they were going to be. I think they could be if they were used a little and utilized a little bit differently, but just right now, it's not what we thought it was going to be. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, you can. 877-867-1670. Coming up tonight, we got a lot of good stuff for you. We're going to talk with Grant Bills coming up here at the bottom of the hour. We're going to hear from Aaron Rodgers coming up here in about 7 minutes. His presser from a little bit earlier today. Rodgers spoke to the media, and I want you to take a listen to that. Also, Mike Clemens going to join us a little bit later on. We got our picks coming up in about an hour and 15 minutes from now as we start to roll through the rest of the NFL as well. Mark Schofield, and we've also got Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus that we had a chance to do some interviews with those guys as well. So a lot coming up today on the program. We are brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network and the official beer sponsor of the Huddle. And you can see where we're at, although I kind of look ghoulish, a little bit dark back here in the corner. But there you go. A little bit more out front, and the place is filling up, which it's always like that out here at Joe Mama's. It's a great place. They have great food, great staff, and the Bang Bang Shrimp and the mac and cheese is absolutely positively out of this world. So a lot of good stuff over here at Joe Mama's. If you want to stop out, we're on in Colegate, Wisconsin, right off of 164. And if you know where the new Quick Trip, the giant new Quick Trip just went in, that's where we're at. It's right across the street. So come on out and say hello. We're going to be here tonight until 8 o'clock. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Aaron Rodgers spoke to the media. I want to talk about some of the things that he had to say. Not practicing today, but we'll get into some of the discussion coming up. We are broadcasting live. Joe Mama's is where you can find us. Stay tuned. We are brought to you by Bud Light. We'll be back coming up right after this.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. We are glad you're with us. The Bill Michaels Huddle. We are brought to you live out here. Joe Mama's is where you can find us, and we are brought to you by Bud Light. So thanks for hanging out with us. We're here tonight till 8 o'clock this evening. And in that time, we're going to talk with quite a few people. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk with Grant Bills of the Wisco Sports Show coming up bottom of the hour. Mike Clemens going to join us top of the next hour. Ben Kenny's here as well. We're going to start making our picks for the rest of the NFL. Mike Renner, Pro Football Focus, Mark Schofield of SB Nation, all of that coming up. But earlier today, we want to kind of play off a little bit of what Aaron Rodgers had to say. Aaron Rodgers at the podium meeting the media after not practicing today, given a day of rest to that ailing thumb. Here's what Aaron Rodgers had to say.
Last week you said you did an hour and a half of rehab on your thumb. Was that today's duty as well?
2 hours. Yeah, we got 2 hours today. Captain Blood made the Wednesday practice back to normal, so had an extra 30 minutes to do some rehab.
So what do you do for 2 hours? I mean, not like the thumb part of it, but what do you do just to kill time?
Conversation, Bill. Yeah, exactly. Nate Weir and I have been friends for a long time, and obviously both been here. I think it's his 19th season, my 18th, so always fun catching up with him, seeing what the kids are up to. He's chasing around after work, Little Harrison on the soccer pitch. So just catching up with him. Randall was in there as well, so we got to catch up with him as well.
Does the thumb feel any different than it did at this point last week or even after the game?
I mean, it was sore after the game. It's progressively gets better throughout the week. Similar plan. I'll go out and practice tomorrow on Friday and take it easy Saturday and be ready to go Sunday.
Aaron, there's no certainty as to whether or not he'll play, but what would it need to get Sammy Watkins back out there for you?
Yeah, it'd be good. I mean, he was obviously coming off, a couple good performances. Had a nice game in Chicago, so gives us another body outside to throw to.
Like you said, just a couple of throws, but how much did it bother you Sunday?
Yeah, it bothered me on a couple throws.
Just that was.
Yeah, I mean, I can deal with pain. Pain management has been part of all of our careers. So you just learn to deal with whatever you got going on. And if you can be out there, you're out there.
When you said it bothered you, more from just being able to throw it where you wanted or more from a pain standpoint?
I mean, it's, some grip issues. At times, it's the biggest issue. The toe was nice because Bob just gave me some numbing stuff, so I didn't even feel it. I was 9 toes out there. But Cap obviously was very restrictive with my movement in the pocket, so I still have what little I got left. And it's like I said, this is going to get progressively better throughout the season, and I'm hoping in a couple weeks it won't be an issue.
So when you're in week 7, the record's the way it is. You've been doing this a while. You talk to your coaches. Do you project a little bit like, we got 2 or 3 guys that still need another game or 2 before we can get this thing in sync? Do you think in those terms, or can you only go game to game?
I don't like to project on anybody, not even myself. So we just talk openly about the issues. We try and hold guys accountable, hold ourselves accountable. Self-criticism is very important in this business. We got to look long and hard at how we're playing and what we got to do to get better. For us, a lot of plays is 10 guys doing the right thing and one guy, missing an assignment when we have issues. So we can just clean up that one guy, and it's not one particular guy. It's different guys in every play, including myself. So we clean that up, we'll be fine.
Thursday, Friday. Is this one of those weeks where you kind of figure out what you guys have as a team?
I don't know about this week. I think it's more just Sundays. We had a great week of practice last week and had a dud performance on Sunday. So it doesn't always translate. We've had bad weeks in the past and gone out and balled out. So just, it's about the energy of the group. I came in after my treatment and the locker room was pretty lively. So I don't know if that was seeing the sun for the first time in a few days or Captain Blood cutting practice a little bit. But either way, good energy today. We just want to get back out there. That's the beauty of this league is we get another chance. The tough part is we got to deal with all the feelings for a week after a bad performance. Got to pull some more pranks, I think. I usually get blamed. Can't say it's always me.
You got a good one recently you'd like to share with the class?
Nope.
Is there something to that, though, Aaron? Having fun? I don't know if you feel on the field that maybe guys are tight. I have no idea. Obviously, not being out there, but is there something that you feel is it's missing?
Winning is fun, Bill. So whenever you're winning, you're always going to have more fun. I think a lot of times that's an important message. But you're having fun when you're loose. When you're loose, that means you're prepared. When you're prepared, that means you put in the time. So it starts with putting in the time, and there's an expectation that everybody's going to be ready to play Sunday, and that confidence will come from the preparation this week.
Are you still having fun?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love this. This is a lot of fun for me. I miss being out there at practice today. I love practicing, but, yeah, man, I live for this. I wake up in the morning thinking about this. I go to bed at night dreaming about what plays I can make up and piss Matt off. And this has been my love since I was 5 years old, and still love waking up every day knowing I'm coming in at 1265.
I think set a franchise single game record for catches by a tight end. How rewarding is it to see what he's been doing the last couple of weeks after what he went through last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's feeling better. He's feeling more confidence in his leg, and he's got incredible hands. I always tell him he's got the second best hands on the team. He catches the ball well with his hands, and he's just instinctual as well. Makes some plays kind of outside the framework sometimes of the construct of the offense, but he's always making the right reaction.
Second best, who's got the best?
Oh, me.
Well, you don't throw it to yourself.
I have a couple times.
How good is Washington's D-line?
They're really good, really good. I mean, a lot of first-round picks on there. They got 5 guys with 3+ sacks. They get a lot of push up front. Yeah, it's a solid defense front to back.
How does it feel when you take a lot of hits a week ago, and then you're going against a D-line like Washington's this week? Just physically, emotionally, what's it like to do that week after week?
I love it. I live for it. I love the challenge. When you get older, as many of you know, it feels a little different maybe waking up, even if you're, like Rob out there playing hard game of racquetball or something. But you wake up in the morning a little more sore maybe than you were at 21. But I think you live for that. We know what kind of defense they got, and we'll see what the environment's like. I'm expecting a lot of Packer fans will be there. But we'll deal with whatever noise we hear, and obviously our front as best we can.
Is it easier to really abide by that after a win or after a loss?
More difficult? It depends. I mean, if you have a hell of a game, you kind of want to savor that for a few days, but you got to move on. Conversely, the opposite is about the same. So that's part of the game. You learn how to move on as quickly as possible and can't dwell too long on the mistakes or on the great things you did.
Aaron, how does a team find its identity throughout the season?
I think a lot of it's dealing with adversity and just seeing what the response is. The guys sticking together? Are we having the right message? Are we still going out and competing in practice? Are we taking ownership of our stuff and having those conversations, however difficult they might be, with our coaches, with our fellow teammates? That's how the character and the identity, I think, is formed throughout the year.
Is this team doing that, in your opinion?
I think so, yeah.
As one of the faces of the league, I'm just wondering, what do you make of all the headlines that swirl around Snyder, and how much do you think it harms the league's reputation?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough question. There's been some interesting articles and obviously, some headlines that maybe grab your attention if you're surfing on Rob's site. It's interesting for sure, but I don't know how much it harms the league. There's obviously been some incidents that reflect poorly on certain organizations, which isn't great for the league. But as you guys all know, the league is going to protect itself, and I'm sure they'll make the right decisions.
When you're scrambling mid-play, what are you looking at in the moment to see whether you should run or pass it? And when you watch the film back, do you think there have been any instances this year where you say, I should have run that?
Yeah, I had a keeper where I was trying to get Rome to backdoor on the linebacker there. Probably could have got 6 or 7 and slid and up my rushing yard average. But, I'm going to be more aggressive, I think, in those situations. moving forward. Legs are feeling good and moving well. So I'll look for those opportunities to maybe tuck it, with a couple pump fakes.
One third of the way through 18 weeks, 6 weeks in, how do you feel this team's offense compared to what you expected?
I mean, similar to maybe what I expected. There's been growing pains. There's been some mental errors at times, which you expect with a younger group. But there's been just too many plays where it's just one guy maybe doing the wrong thing or not executing their responsibility. So we'll clean that up. We'll be fine. There's enough leadership on the offense to get those things cleaned up, and I'm confident we'll get some of those things fixed.
What's your comfort level with the line, Aaron, as far as Sunday, for instance, maybe the guy coming free on the left, maybe the right, just kind of the uncertainty when you step back there, what you're going to be facing?
Well, I got to deal the ball as quickly as I can. I think when we're in our best rhythm, it's the ball coming out of my hand on time. There's a lot that goes into that. Obviously, we got to protect it for that time. We got to get open on time. So there's a lot of different factors when it comes to the line. I've a lot of confidence in them. I'm expecting to bounce back from the performance last week. They're very hard on themselves. They're very well coached, and we all don't want to put bad ball out on tape.
Last year, Washington Town, obviously Taylor showed a lot of great at quarterback. What do you see in him, his competitiveness? What do you see when you watch him that you can help relate to?
I haven't seen any tape on him this year, but I like the kid. I think he's got a lot of toughness. I've seen some plays over the years, a couple playoff games where I felt like he played pretty well. But he plays with confidence and able to get outside the pocket and make some plays. Good runner with the football. I was teasing about sliding last year. Not the most frequent slider, but definitely can make some plays outside the pocket. I think a lot of us are pretty tenacious. All right.
There you go. That's it. That's Aaron Rodgers talking to the media. Some interesting stuff came out of that. One is he was asked about taking the hits, and instead of giving the answer of, hey, I hate to get hit, I hate to, constantly be pounded by the opponent and such after the beating he took last week at the hands of the New York Jets, he said, I love it. I live for the challenge. He sounds invigorated. I don't know. Sometimes, with Aaron Rodgers, even when he says it with a smile, you don't know if he's being serious or sarcastic. But he also talked about the young guys and growing pains. And he said the one thing that I found interesting, he said there's too many plays where it's one guy doing the wrong thing or not being assignment sure. He said there's too many plays like that. It's not overall. It's one guy. It's one guy on the line. It's one guy not running the right route. It's one guy not picking up a blitz. It's one guy. And he threw himself in there. He said, there's times that it's been me too. So, which is interesting. But he said it's one guy. Too many plays with one guy not doing the right thing, and we're going through the growing pains. He also said he needs to protect the ball more, needs more time to throw the ball. Guys got to get open. He said we put way too much bad ball on tape. But some interesting stuff there at the end. A lot of it was thumb rehab, and I know, and he talked about the pass and getting the toe shot up, and but he said it's different guys on every play. And he said, we just fix that and we're going to be fine. So that was it's as good as I've heard him after adversity. And maybe this is the leader, Aaron Rodgers, saying, no, we're fine. Don't worry about it. We're going to be fine. We're okay. He's not giving you the RELAX, none of that. He's not up there pontificating about how he showed all of the naysayers. He's just basically saying, we're going to be fine. We're just making a few mistakes. We're close. We're just making mistakes. So I found that rather interesting. And hopefully at least got all the way through that to the very end, because there was some pretty good quotes in there if you really took a listen. And the other side of things, which one of the questions was about Daniel Snyder and the interesting articles and stuff, he did say he doesn't really know how much it harms the league. The league's going to continue to roll on. It hurts some franchises more than anything, but he kind of basically said what we've been saying is like, look, the NFL's a machine. There's been a lot of things that have hurt the league in a lot of different ways, and the league just marches on. because they, as he said, kind of sarcastically there, he said, well, you know what they're going to do? They're going to protect themselves and protect the league. They're not going to protect individual owners. So, and he's right. He's right. But as far as the league goes, does it hurt the league? No, doesn't hurt the league. The league just marches on. We're broadcasting live out here at Joe Mama's. When we come back, Grant Bills of the Wisco Sports Show, he and I are going to talk a little bit about what Rodgers had to say. And let's talk a little reality when it comes to the offense. I'll tell you what I'm talking about when we come back. Stay tuned. We're brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. We'll be back coming up right after this.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Okay, I'm back.
Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. We are broadcasting live. We are here at Joe Mama's. We're here in Colegate. Good to have you on board tonight. Thanks so much for taking a listen to us. We certainly appreciate it. 877-867-1670. If at some point you want to chime in, please feel free to go ahead and do so. Joining us now from the Wisco Sports Show, our buddy Grant Bills is on board. Grant, how you doing tonight, pal?
I'm doing good, Bill. The show's been lively this week.
It has been
a lot of piss and vinegar.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's not necessarily a drink you want to order up at the bar, but I completely agree with you, no doubt. So let me ask you this: you hear Aaron Rodgers talk about, the thumb and saying, "Hey, it's going to be okay. Relax." He didn't say relax. He just said, "Hey, it's not going to be bad." And then he's going to talk about, how it's just one play here, one guy there, one missed blocking assignment here. Do you think this thing's fixable?
I think a lot of it is fixable. The lack of talent at wide receiver right now, I don't think that's fixable. Maybe they make a trade, but I don't expect the Packers to shock everyone and go out and get an amazing wide receiver. I think some of the execution things are fixable. JT O'Sullivan, who Ben and I had on when we were filling in for you, Bill, he put out a really good video today. I saw a lot of Packer people sharing it. Just about little things here and there. They're making issues on running the routes correctly. They're making issues spotting the ball. Rodgers has just been a little bit off with his accuracy here and there. And then there's examples of Matt LaFleur's play calling just being a little bit messier than it needs to be. So because the Packers have so many different issues on offense, yeah, I think some of them are fixable. Absolutely. But I think some of these warts they're going to have to live with, like they don't have a very dynamic wide receiving core. And their offensive line doesn't appear to be great. Some of those issues they might be stuck with, but I think a lot of the execution stuff, absolutely they can fix.
So, Rodgers says, well, it's always one guy not doing his assignment, one thing. It's one blocking, it's one guy running a wrong route. It's one guy, not picking up a blitz. And again, these are all things that should have been taken care of going back to training camp, which is what gives me hope that this thing can be somewhat fixed or at least made better. And then the return of Sammy Watkins eventually will help. Now, we know we're 13 days away from the trade deadline. If you're Brian Gutekunst, are you pulling out all the stops at this point to find yourself the likes of a Chase Claypool or somebody like that?
Are we really that close to the trade deadline?
13 days, man.
Holy smokes. I don't think Chase Claypool is going to get traded. I think there are certain players that will be traded, but the NFL's trade deadline is just never what we hope it's going to be. I think they might add a practice squad player. They added one today. I don't think the Packers are ponying up any premium picks or salary cap space for DJ Moore or Chase Claypool. Not to say they shouldn't, right? If they were to add a more dynamic wide receiver that's not necessarily a veteran, but just has a couple of years under his belt in a way that Romeo Doubs doesn't or Christian Watson doesn't, I think it could help. But I don't think they're gonna. I mean, Bill, we do this every year, and I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I love contemplating trades every year. But, Bill, we do this every year, and they never make a trade. Like, you're not expecting them to shock us all and make a move, are you?
Well, do you think it's a fail if they don't? I mean, you're only getting so many bites at the apple left with Aaron Rodgers, this probably being 1 out of 2.
Yeah.
If you only have this year and next year, we'll say, wouldn't you go all in this year?
Well, and that's what I've tried to tell myself. And I've tried to convince myself, maybe they do make the move. This would be the year that they do it. right? Because we're coming to the end of the road with Rodgers. This defense, I still have a lot of hope can be elite. So I want to make sure that if this defense figures it out, probably of their own accord, because I don't expect Joe Barry to fix anything. If everything does start trending in the right direction, I'd hate to get to the playoffs and think, man, if only they added one other wide receiver. And maybe that wide receiver, Bill, isn't a superstar. Maybe it's just someone who's healthy and available when Christian Watson can't go or when Sammy Watkins is dinged up. You just need a stable of bodies at wide receiver, and right now they're shorthanded. But I do agree with you that if there was a year that Brian Gutekunst was more all in and he were to make a move, this would probably be the year. I still don't think that means he makes a move, but it's more likely, I think, this year than it has been the last few.
I personally think you got to go in. Let's just say it goes really, really bad. Then what is the likelihood Rodgers comes back? Albeit Rodgers has sounded probably better than I've heard him in a really long time, in the sense of, kind of jocular, jovial, not being too serious, doesn't sound snippy or angry. He's kind of joking around a little bit. It seems like maybe he's taking the, hey, I need to be a leader and get everybody to relax approach. But, if he ends up, say, only with 7 wins, 8 wins, missing the postseason, does he come back?
Well, I mean, are you asking if he'd retire?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Who knows what's going on in that guy's head? I don't know. I have a really hard time believing they're going to win 7 or 8 games. I don't think this team is a world beater, Bill, but I don't know that anyone in the NFC is a world beater. Like I talked about on my show today, the Phillies are an outstanding team, or not the Phillies, the Eagles. I think the Eagles are outstanding. I still have doubts about some parts of that team. The Niners are 3-3. The Bucks are 3-3. Everyone's kind of in the same spot. I don't see why the Packers couldn't get rowing in the right direction and start to figure it out. And Bill, I mean, if you look back over the years, 2010, the Packers started slow and they almost needed to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. Same in 2014, which was another really, really good year. If the Packers have it in them to really fix some of these execution issues, and like you said, maybe Goody makes a move, I think this team could absolutely start to play better and better and better and pick up momentum throughout the year. I don't think they're only going to win 6 or 7 or 8 games. I would be shocked if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back and play for Green Bay next year.
Defensively speaking, the defensive front not good against the run. We all know that. We've been down this road numerous times. Is there anything you would change right now? Would you do a different rotation? Is there something you would do specifically that would change things right now?
Ooh, well, a couple of things. We got to figure out what the plan is for Rasul Douglas, because they gave this guy a handsome amount of money to come back and be part of this defense. And it seems to me like Joe Barry really didn't have a good idea on how he planned to use him. He's not a slot corner, which we all knew. We didn't need it 6 games to figure that out. So if that means he's taking reps from Eric Stokes, who's regressed in year 2, then he's taking reps from Eric Stokes. Like, we got to figure out a way to use Rasul Douglas because they gave him money. That's thing number 1. Thing number 2, let Jair, by and large, shadow the opposing team's best wide receiver. I think number 1 corners are wired a little bit different. They're a little bit nuts, and they need that mano-a-mano element to the game to really play their best football. And I think that's how you can get the best ball out of Jair. We saw that on Sunday. And I would start running twists and stunts up front. Line up guys in different spots, move them around, rush them from different spots, because you saw on Sunday, the Packers couldn't handle stunts up front. As soon as they ran a twist or something different, the Packers just crumbled. Joe Barry doesn't do any of that. They line up 4 or 5 guys straight up and they rush uphill, and that's it. So rearrange the back end, use Rasul Douglas and Jair Alexander a little differently, and then add some color to the defense up front. I think all of those little tweaks and adjustments will go a long way.
Talking with Grant Bills of the Wisco Sports Show, at Grant Bills, BILSE, over on Twitter. So, Grant, before I let you go, the offensive play calling, Matt LaFleur has said time and again, not getting the ball in the hands of Aaron Jones, unacceptable. And then he talks about seeing the tape and what they can do better. How much do you think, because this game against the Jets, I thought for sure they were going to run the ball more, they were going to get the ball in the hands of Aaron Jones more, and they didn't. How much do you think, with the good defensive front that Washington has, how much more do you think they actually get the ball in the hands of Aaron Jones?
Well, running the ball and getting the ball in the hands of Aaron Jones can be different things. I don't think this team is a great running football team right now. They're getting beat up front by good defensive lines. Royce Newman is lost. Elton Jenkins is working back from injury and doesn't look great. And then I still don't really know what Josh Myers is, and Bakhtiari's coming back off a huge injury. So the uncertainty up front makes it really difficult to run the football. I don't think the answer is to give 15 carries a game to Jones and to Dillon, but it needs to be more touches. Get Aaron Jones involved in sweeps, in screens, use him as a downfield receiver, get him open in the flat, get him in situations to catch the ball and run with it. Again, it's not just carries. It's not just running the ball. They should be sitting down in a meeting. I keep saying this on my show, Bill, and I feel like I'm probably being annoying, but I think I'm right. Everyone should be sitting down in a meeting every week with a big whiteboard and saying, all right, let's think of 10 different ways we can get Aaron Jones the ball this week. Let's think of 15 different, like as many different ways as possible to get that dude involved. And it shouldn't just be running the ball right up the gut, because the Packers have shown they're not really that good at it.
Hey, real quick, one more. The special teams.
Yeah.
Last weekend, apparition and kind of a, hey, hold your water because they've been pretty good up to this point, or is this a sign of weird things to come?
Definitely the former. Relax. I know they gave up a touchdown and that stunk, and they gave up a kick block, but they also blocked a punt. Like, when was the last time we saw the Packers block a punt or block a field goal? Like, I'll take that. I think it was just a really bad Sunday in which a lot of things went wrong. They also were really good covering punts, Bill. Like, getting downfield, being in the right spot, Rudy Ford and these guys that they brought in, they've been excellent. So still seeing progress from special teams. I'm not worried about that when the offense looks terrible and the defense gets, marched up and down the field. I'll worry about the special teams when they start looking like last year's special teams.
Good stuff, man. Appreciate it, Grant. We'll talk to you soon, pal, okay?
Yeah, thanks, Bill, for having me. Have a good rest of your week.
You bet. There you go. Grant Bills of the Wisco Sports Show at Wisco Grant. At Wisco, I think I said at Grant Bills before. It's at Wisco Grant, and I actually have it up wrong over on the Bud Light live stream for those of you watching. It's at Wisco, W-I-S-C-O, Wisco Grant. So you can find his stuff there and follow him there. Good stuff that, he has during his show as well. Yeah, I think this weekend, when you talk about how many carries you're going to get Aaron Jones, I think if you don't get Aaron Jones, at least 16 to 18 carries and or touches, I think you're doing a real disservice. He has to be more involved. You would assume. I mean, unless there's something we don't know, you would assume one of your best, if not your best playmaker, short of your quarterback, got to touch the ball. Has to. 877-867-1670. Going to take a quick break. Come back. We are broadcasting live. We are at Joe Mama's and a packed house in here. They've got right now people on a wait, people waiting for food. The bar is completely full as well. So packed house in here at Joe Mama's. And if you still want to come out and hang out, by all means, the bar, there's a few seats at the bar that are open, and it's not a long wait by any stretch of the imagination to get in here. People sitting down now and watching the Philadelphia Phillies getting beat by the San Diego Padres, unfortunately for our own Ben Kenny. And you got some NBA on as well. You got the Knicks and the Memphis Grizzlies underway. So you've got NBA basketball. So a lot of stuff going on out here at Joe Mama's right here in Colegate, right off of 164, just west of 164. Come on by and say hi. More of the Bill Michaels Show brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. Coming up right after this.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. We are broadcasting live. We're at Joe Mama's. We're in Colgate. Good you're on board tonight. The Green Bay Packers come into the contest against Washington sitting at 3-3 on the season. And where they're at right now, I mean, when you look at their total net yards as opposed to their opponent, they're at least ahead, 300-something yards. Their net yards rushing is far less. The passing is far more. But the team itself is not well, for lack of a better term. They've given up 13, only scored 12. They have fumbled the ball on 12 occasions, lost 5 of them, where they've only created 6 fumbles and only recovered 3 on the season. And when it comes to the turnovers, they're losing the turnover battle. They're losing the yardage battle. They're losing up front in many areas. They've got given up 15 sacks for Aaron Rodgers for 121 yards while only getting 14 of them on the season. The offensive line not playing extremely well. They're giving up 4.9 yards per carry, the defensive front. They're only running the ball for 4.7 yards per carry, as a matter of fact. So just in only averaging 122 yards per game. They're averaging as many yards per play as they're giving up at 5.4. So many different things that this team is their record is deserving of a 3-3 mark. What they're doing defensively is exactly what they're doing offensively. What they're giving up is exactly what they're getting. It's not hard to kind of look at statistics and say, well, Matt LaFleur believes they're for losers. You can look at it and say, you know what, your opponent for the most part has been more efficient. The funny thing about this is that on the season now, Devondre Campbell is leading the team in tackles so far. Quay Walker is second in tackles. Rashawn Gary, Jerron Reed, Adrian Amos, it kind of goes down there. Preston Smith, so far, 12 tackles, 3.5 sacks. That's it. 12 tackles, 3.5 sacks on the season. Kenny Clark has 2 sacks. Rashawn Gary has 6. You'd like to see, again, we've talked about this. You get that season from Preston Smith, and it's a great season. He really comes on. He shines. Like this past year, he earns that contract, and then you get that down season. His career has been ebb and flow. You've got to get more consistency from that opposite side of the pass rush. And obviously, you want to get more pressure from up front as well. But you start to look at some of these things, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, Devondre Campbell, solid. Quay Walker, a lot of his tackles downfield, sideline to sideline. So there's a lot of things that are and the reason I bring all this up, okay, is because we'll get calls during the postgame show and say, where's Devondre Campbell? Where's that tenacity we saw last year? Where is that? And he's not shooting the gap. He's not getting to the quarterback. He's not blowing plays up, but he leads the team in tackles. Quay Walker, sideline to sideline. We all see what he can do in the run. Not much. But he's second in tackles. Preston Smith. He's the guy that's supposed to be the bookend, the guy that's supposed to be the opposite side of Rashawn Gary. He's less. You got a yin and a yang, but a lot of this equates to a lot of average play. A lot of average play. By the way, you would figure that the best pass defender you have is Jair Alexander. He's got 4 pass breakups so far this year. Rasul Douglas has 2 so far this season. Just 2. And, what's funny is I'm just looking here. Eric Stokes, he has 18 tackles, but not a pass defended so far this season. So, again, relatively average in a lot of different areas. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. 1 hour down, another hour yet to go. Coming up in the next hour, Mike Clemens is going to join us. We'll talk with Mike as he was in Green Bay. He was there next to Aaron Rodgers. I want to talk to him about the nickname Captain Blood, by the way. Rodgers referred to Matt LaFleur more than a few times as Captain Blood today. Want to hear about that story. We'll get into that a little bit. We'll talk more about this team and about this defensive front of the Washington Commanders as the Packers travel now to FedEx Field in D.C., hoping to get themselves back on the winning track after losing back-to-back games in the Matt LaFleur era for the very first time. We're broadcasting live. We're out here at Joe Mama's in Colegate, Wisconsin, just west of 164. Great place. Well, I tell you what, every time I had the Bang Bang Strip. That stuff was fantastic. But that mac and cheese, that's out of this world. More of the Bill Michaels Huddle coming up next.
Are you ready for some football? He talks green and gold. This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels.
We're out here, Joe Mama's. That's where you can find us. Colegate, Wisconsin, just west of 164. Say hi to our guys from Wabam, Ryan DeStefano, Joe Cool Racing, right down the road. Love those guys out there. Good stuff. And that being said, the Green Bay Packers getting ready to go on the road, take on the Washington Commanders. The Commanders have enough of their own controversy right now. They're just trying to win a game on the football field at this point. They've got a quarterback issue because their quarterback is banged up at this point, and the Packers, their quarterback is banged up as well a little bit when you think about it. Aaron Rodgers has the thumb, took himself out today. Carson Wentz for the Commanders not going to play. Taylor Heineke is going to be the quarterback this coming Sunday as Carson Wentz banged up, will not play that we know. So he will not be there. So Taylor Heineke is going to be the guy that's going to get the next call. And he's battled for the starting job once or twice. So he knows what it's like. So it's not like you're getting a virtual unknown, but it's not also like you're getting, the next coming of Tom Brady that's going to be taking the field either by any stretch of the imagination. In the meantime, the Packers, they have their own issues. They're very average. They're very, we just went over statistically speaking. We just looked at them. They're very up and down. They're a 3-3 team. There's nothing dynamic about them. They don't run the ball extremely well. They don't throw the ball extremely well. They don't have big plays downfield. They're not a team that is, by any stretch of the imagination, lighting it up defensively. They did play some press man on Sunday. They looked good. 8 drives, only gave up 3 points, and then ultimately succumbed to the New York Jets. It's, obviously special teams played a part of that as well. It's an average team. It's an average team that's looking to get better. Aaron Rodgers, in the last hour, when you heard him talk about it, when he was asked about taking the hits, he said, "I love it. I live for this challenge." And he talked about the young guys and the mental mistakes and the problems they've had on the offensive line. He said it's growing pains right now. There's been some mental errors. He said, but there's too many plays where it's one guy not doing the right thing, and that has caused problems. He said what he's got to do is protect the ball. He needs a little bit more time to throw. Guys have to get open. He said we got a lot of bad ball on tape right now. And basically in looking at all of this, saying, hey, we're only a couple of things getting fixed away from this being right. So he believes they're going to get better. I think a lot of Packers fans are certainly hoping they're going to get better in a lot of areas. And I think it starts with running the football a little bit more coming up this weekend and putting the ball in the hands of Aaron Jones a little more often. So, but it's just, in football, they always say baseball is a game of inches. But on the other hand, football is kind of a game of one man making the wrong move, screwing up an entire play. This was Aaron Rodgers on Pat McAfee yesterday telling everybody why he's not concerned right now and ready to jump ship.
There's a lot of football left. We have 11 games left. Now the bye week's coming to play. And for us, we have a Thursday night game coming up next month, which gives us 2 in 1 week and then nice little mini bye. So there's a lot of football left. Obviously, we got to play better. I think that's it's understood by everybody in all 3 phases. But there's definitely no panic.
No panic. No panic. He talks about not being concerned about the 3-3 start and on losing to the Giants and the Jets and some of the hits that he took last Sunday, and talks about all of that. Take a listen.
We've played 2 good football teams the last 2 weeks, and I know we were expected to win both games. We thought we were going to win both games, but the Giants look like a pretty real team, I would say, right? And our win against New England a couple weeks ago, that looks a little better now after they went and shut out the Lions and then had a dominating win this last week. A team like the Jets, that's not the same old Jets. This is a good football team. They're very well coached. They got good players. They're 4-2 for a reason. The Giants are 5-1 and just beat Baltimore.
The team itself right now not look good up front against the Jets, and he talks about the hits that he took last Sunday.
There was one hit that actually hurt more than any other. It was part athleticism, getting out of a sack, and then I moved to the sideline and threw a ball to Bobby, and this ridiculous hit. It was on the Jets sideline. I threw a scramble alert to Bobby. I took a helmet to the right thigh and then had a really weird spin around land on my left ass cheek. After the game, wondering how it was possible to have a right thigh bruise and a left tailbone bruise from the same play, but I achieved it.
That's getting spun around and beat up, to say the very least. In the meantime, one of the things that you and I have talked about, and that is the fact that in the first half of last week's game, Aaron Jones only had 3 touches, which for what we consider to be the best weapon that you have, as Matt LaFleur says, that's unacceptable. He talks about the touches for Aaron Jones.
Yeah, he's a hell of a player. You want to stop him, right? The plan that it seemed like the Jets had was if we were in the gun, they were going to play a lot of zone coverage, 1 high. If we were in the center, they're going to play some more combo coverage in certain situations, depending on personnel groupings. Like when Big Dog was in the game in 28, they played a lot more 1 high to stop the run. If Big Dog and 33 were in the game, they had a different coverage scheme. If 33 and 85 were in the game, they had different ideas. So, teams are looking at our personnel groupings pretty specifically, and we obviously are looking at that as well on our self-scout. But listen, I don't have a great answer for you. Like, we left 33. We got to give them the ball. I don't know what else to say to that. Not like we're not trying.
So there you have it. Aaron Rodgers talking about Pat McAfee yesterday on the program. And, we heard from him a little bit earlier today in the Huddle show as well. Meanwhile, joining us now on the hotline, our buddy Mike Clemens. And, Michael, how you doing up there? How was it today at practice without Aaron Rodgers?
Kind of weird. How's everybody in Colegate? Okay.
We're good. It's a packed house. The food is always good here. I've had you here before. It's a good place. But a lot of people asking the same question: can the Green Bay Packers, 1, get a win, and 2, can they fix the offense?
The whole thing is that I don't, for the second week in a row, I don't see any swagger with these guys, Bill. Leading up to the London game, it's like I told you last week, one guy described it like a bowl game, only, they lost it, but they felt special going into that, and all the crowd support, all the Packer fan support there. And then, they get it handed to them, and it turns out the Giants are a pretty good team, just like, Rodgers said in his interview yesterday. And now, after what's, happened with the Jets, they're humbled right now. And so that's why you saw LaFleur saying things like, hey, at the end of the day, it's football and you got to have fun. So the funk is for real. I tried to press LaFleur a couple of times today because, he doesn't really want to get into that rah-rah stuff publicly in the media. That's something that is supposed to stay within that locker room. It's between those guys and that coach. And this coach, with all the wins he's got, he'd like to think that that's player-driven, not coach-driven. And he doesn't have all the fancy sayings that his best buddy Robert Saleh had for us, like describing his defensive line as a rolling ball of butcher knives. He just doesn't have those kinds of lines. He's just not that kind of a guy. He's an X's and O's guy. He's a technique guy, and he's a game planning guy. He's a play caller. And right now, though, he's sensitive to the fact that these guys have been humbled. They've got a lot of problems to solve, and they got to figure that out against a tough Washington defensive front.
So, Mike, when you talk about the defensive front, the fact that they're not getting Aaron Jones the ball, my assumption is they will. I've talked about the number of times they've lined up in shotgun versus under center, and the fact that you're involving Robert Tonyan so much more. But I think really you're kind of hoping that does it even begin to look as if Sammy Watkins is going to come back this week, or are they just kind of working him out to see where he's at right now?
No, he was limited today. Next week.
Okay.
He just came off IR, and I don't see how he plays Sunday after 3 days of this. He's coming off a hamstring. I have no guarantees that they're going to be any more committed to Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon against this Washington team than they were against the Jets, because the best thing about that defense in Washington is guys like Jonathan Allen, who's just become a hell of a really good free technique guy, right over the center, right over the guard, disruptive. I watched tape with that game last week against the Bears, and for most of the first half, there's this number 97, F.A. Obata. This is a guy that's a Nigerian. He's actually been around 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's been with the Panthers. I think he played for Rivera, and so Rivera's brought him to Washington. But this guy lines up at right defensive end, and he's getting past the Bears left tackle, and he's in the face of Justin Fields all night long, and he's shutting down. So, this is a guy that Bakhtiari's going to have to deal with, but they've got some good players up, they still got Montez Sweat and the rest of those guys. James Smith, Williams, he's come along. They got their hands full, so why not take advantage of guys like Kyle Fuller and the other guys that got in the back end, and they're going to try and throw the ball.
Mike, going to the offensive line, a lot of talk this week about whether or not they should be moving guys around. Does Elton Jenkins come into right guard, Yosh Nijman go to right tackle, now that we've seen David Bakhtiari pretty much handle the load?
I think that, observers, people, like a Larry McCarron, guys like that, they just think, why wouldn't you, if you're trying to put your best five, that means Yosh Nijman deserves a spot on that line, not Royce Newman. And then, Royce Newman's backup, Jake Hansen, got his bicep injury that, who knows, they can wait till 4 o'clock Saturday to put him on IR. But the point is, if you're 5 best, if Elton's your number 2 best, and you want to get Yosh on as a tackle, well, then he's going to have to learn that right tackle position. And why not put Elton where he was so good alongside David Bakhtiari at left guard, and ask John Runyon Jr. to make the transition over to right guard? But, as late as a week ago, Adam Stenovich, former offensive line coach, now your offensive coordinator, emphatically said, Elton Jenkins is our right tackle.
Wow. Elton didn't look good. He's had his moments, and I admire him for the attempt, but do we dare say that this, with him coming up on a contract, is this a money issue, playing tackle to get paid as opposed to a guard?
There's no sense that it's Elton Jenkins refusing to go to left guard, just saying, I'm back now and I'm going to play right tackle because next year it's a contract year and I'm being listed. Occupation is tackle, not guard. But, the other thing is he's probably having it, not only coming back from the ACL, I think he's just having to continue to adjust to the right side. And as much accolades as he got as being able to play all 5 positions, I mean, hell, he's started games at center for this team since 2019. But, he's playing on the right side. And that can take 3-4 games for guys like, in the past, Balaga, other tackles I can think of, before they really settle in and feel good at that position.
Mike, we saw the special teams rear its ugly head this week as well. And, I got to think that, there's an emphasis there again. We've got a punt blocked, goes for a touchdown, field goal blocked, the pooch kickoff after the 15-yard unsportsmanlike. Big seam opens up instead of, pinning them back around the 10. They get out to the 30. Special teams didn't look good this week. An emphasis on that?
Well, absolutely. And it's something that the Jets saw in terms of what they got on the blocked field goal on Mason. And then, then they steal a punt from you and a scoop and score. And these are guys that Saleh brought in either from the 49ers or other teams that his assistants, when he put that staff together with that Will Park, with that Michael Clemens, who's got a great name. I just love the name of that kid.
Right.
Anyway, to get that block punt and to get that scoop and score, this is what these guys do. They're good at it, and maybe they're third string linebackers, but they know that that's how they can earn their paycheck. And Bisaccia has still overall, I think you can see improvement each week. But we're going to get to talk to Bisaccia tomorrow night, and I can hardly wait to hear his breakdown on what happened on that stuff. He'll be honest. He won't pussyfoot around it. He'll be honest about it.
Talking to Mike Clemens, our Packers insider, and up at Lambeau. So, Mike, I go back to Matt LaFleur saying, hey, so many touches for Aaron Jones, that's unacceptable, and then trying to get him the ball in the second half and using the battering ram, A.J. Dillon more, but his yards per carry and success has been limited. And then Rodgers talks about shotgun and motion and not using motion, and it seems like there's a giant jumble. Did you ever figure out or get a real sense as to what Aaron meant when he said, hey, let's just simplify things?
Well, the last piece of the puzzle is this. I mean, you're talking about now going on 2.5 weeks, and, you're talking about you could not put points up. You barely beat the Patriots in overtime against a third-string quarterback. And, the Bears, gave you a rough play there for it. You haven't won big at anything yet this year. And the offense is, is not – I think they've scored only 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, as we head into week 7. And so you got Aaron Rodgers not being able to hit the go routes like a 2-time MVP the last couple of years. You've got him under duress. You've got him talking on the McAfee show yesterday about the one play where he made this incredible throw to Tunyon while he's being chased and he's getting banged up, in the butt and getting a helmet in the thigh, and he's still out there with a sore thumb that he, hurt against the Giants. So you got all these problems. And then you got your left guard, John Runyon Jr., talking to just a couple of reporters there Monday afternoon saying, so that's my worst game so far in the NFL. That Jets defensive line was really good. And frankly, we have been struggling this season with stunts as an offensive line unit. And I don't know if that's on Josh Myers. I don't know if that's on the right guard, Royce Newman, or when they, flipped him out for Jake Hansen. I don't know if it's Elton Jenkins trying to get to this, but it means that when they try tight end, defensive end stunts or twist, or they bring in, C.J. Mosley like the Jets did over the middle while they're, doing the do-si-do dance on the line, there's 1 or 2 of these offensive linemen. They're like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, they just flipped. Who am I supposed to get now? And then it opens up a gap, and some linebacker comes flying in through the middle, and there's Aaron Rodgers at 38 years old running for his life again. If you can't get that stuff locked up, you're not going to be able to run the ball. You're certainly not going to have Aaron Rodgers back there, whether he's in shotgun or not. That's what the problem is the offensive line has never really been close to what Aaron Rodgers has been used to heading into week 7. And so when Runyon says Saleh saw that, that's our weakness. We haven't been able to fix it, and that's why we struggled. And that defensive line with the Jets, when I went into that locker room, it's like, wow, these guys aren't like the 49ers. They're not 6'8". They're 6'3". That Quinton Williams is 6'3", 300 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
He's not huge. It's just great technique. They get down on all fours, hands, 2 hands, 2 foot, 4-point stance. They get way low. They explode off of their stance into the knees 65 times into that offensive line, or then they start stunting, and they just wear that line out. And that's 4 guys on 5, and that's how the Jets won the football game. And now that's a blueprint for a Washington team that Rivera has started building with a defensive line.
Yeah, that's kind of, we asked that question on Monday. We said, is this now how you're going to beat the Packers? 4-man rush, blow up the line, play man on the outside because nobody's really going to beat you, and then just bring your safeties up to stuff to run in the middle. Until you prove that you can do something else and you can protect the quarterback, and even when the play breaks down, Rodgers, where he's at his best, is able to start hitting some of these guys in an open window. I agree with you. It's going to be tough sledding. Mike, great stuff as always, bud. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, there's the only thing that Aaron's talking about with this simplifying too, Bill. It's like what you already touched on during your show during the daytime too. It gets back to that thing he said 2 or 3 weeks ago about, Jesus, some of these plays are coming in with 18 syllables on them, right? And I got guys that can't even pick up a stunt. So, that's the stuff that they have to work out before they get on the plane and head to Washington, D.C.
Mike, great stuff. We'll talk soon, pal.
Thank you, Bill.
See you, bud. There you go. Mike Clemens. The great Mike Clemens joining us for a couple of minutes on the hotline and bringing it to us. Good stuff from up in Green Bay as well. So there you have it. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus. He wrote an article regarding the Green Bay Packers, regarding the offense, and regarding the numbers regarding the pass game. A lot of regarding there, but it's pretty much on point. So we're going to hear from Mike Renner of Pro Football Focus when we come back. We are live. We're at Joe Mama's. We're out here in Colegate. Swing on out and say hello. You just had 1 table, 2 tables open up. So if you want to come by and say hello, there's still some time. Hang in there. Got a lot more. The Bill Michaels Huddle brought to you by our friends at Bud Light. Coming up right after this.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. We are broadcasting live. As you can see on the Bud Light live stream, we're at Joe Mama's inside. Pretty crowded. Good crowd here tonight. Only one table open at this time. We got a couple of stools at the bar that are open, but beyond that, we've had a good crowd all night long, and that's because they got great food out here, great happy hour out here. Bud Light specials tonight as well. We are brought to you by our friends at Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. So thanks to everybody for coming out and hanging out with us this evening. I always appreciate it. Always appreciate it. So Mike Renner, Pro Football Focus. The biggest thing is the Green Bay Packers. He wrote a really good article about the Packers and about a lot of different things and problems and not being able to throw downfield. So, Mike, first and foremost, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on.
Absolutely. So, I guess we're pushing the panic button at this point in time because I don't see Devontae walking through that door anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think it's a panic button on the whole season, but I do think it's a panic button on this offense, right? I do think that the offense that we've come to know in the Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers era, I just don't think it's going to be walking through that door. And it's kind of a twofold thing. It's one, the talent. I mean, this is I think pretty objectively the worst group of receivers they've had since, that I can remember. Since the 90s, maybe. It's not a good collection of talent there that they have at the receiver position. And then two, it's kind of the way the game's gone. The way defenses are now playing these, elite quarterbacks in the NFL, the rise of this too high stuff, the cover 4, the quarters coverages, the cover 6, the quarter half stuff that really put the cap, really makes you be perfect in the passing game. And it's hard to be perfect when you don't have, when you have 1, 2 rookies, as 2 of your main targets. And 2, just not talent that's winning consistently at the receiver position. So I think that was the gist of the article and why I am, worried about the Packers offense.
Let's start with the offensive line. They got dump trucked on Sunday, and I don't know if it's just people playing out of position. We've been thinking about Elton Jenkins being a better guard than a tackle. David Bakhtiari being eased back into the situation. We saw John Runyon, Royce Newman. I mean, numerous guys that got pushed around. Is it just as simple as saying if you give Aaron Rodgers more time, more guys are going to get open?
I don't think it is because, honestly, that was the worst, obviously, the offensive lines looked all season. But that hasn't been, if you look at their sort of pass blocking compared to the rest of the league, they're still a top 10 graded pass blocking offensive line for the PFF grades. Like the rest of the games, they were fine, and they still weren't 200 points. So like that was kind of a one-off. I am worried, about the offensive line, but I do think they have answers, right? I do think if they kick Elton Jenkins in the guard, you can get Josh Nijman on the field and sort of alleviate some of the issues that have been plaguing them. Like this is still a good offensive line. That more was to me just an anomaly.
Is it partially play calling, the fact that they are not utilizing the weapon that is Aaron Jones? I mean, only 3 carries in the first half of that game. It leaves you scratching your head, doesn't it?
Yeah, that one was weird. I thought he was better suited to attack this Jets defense than A.J. Dillon was, but then obviously they're featuring Dillon heavily in that game. That one's head scratching. I will say it is worrisome whenever there is what seems like this week a difference of opinion between quarterback and play caller, whether it's the use of motion, tempo, whatever it is Aaron Rodgers wants to use. That is always worrisome, because you got to be on the same page to run an offense cohesively, and I think it's very indicative of their struggles. It's just too many guys not on the same page, too many, sort of missed opportunities just right off the tip of guys' hands and that sort of thing that, yeah, it'll start to bounce maybe their way at some point this season. Some of it will get cleaned up, but it better be soon because right now they're digging themselves a hole.
They don't have a guy that can take the lid off of a defense. That guy is not here right now, and he's not, I don't think, anytime soon walking through that door unless Christian Watson all of a sudden gets it and the light bulb snaps. But can they survive and can they win, like you said, with motion, running the ball a little bit, quick outs, tight end, receiving, moving the sticks? Can they consistently win that way and put up more points per game?
Well, to consistently win that way, and I was saying at the beginning of the season, the defense has to be a top 5 defense. Ball control, run game heavy only works if you have the defense on the other side that can stop ball control offenses, that can force teams into passing situations on the other side of the ball. And as of right now, they just don't have that. Their run defense has been stiff. So that's the worrisome thing. It's like this could have worked. It could have all been cohesive and led to a lot of wins. It can lead to that, but just the defense better be dominant. And they're just a little behind probably what a lot of people expected in terms of performance so far this season. As far as offensive turnaround, I could see this ending up an average offense by the end of the season. But if you just objectively look at their talent level compared to the rest of the league, it doesn't look like the top 10 offenses. Top 10 offenses don't have one receiver better than what the Packers are throwing out. They got multiple guys that are better than, Allen Lazard, who's the de facto number 1 in Green Bay. So that to me is the biggest problem still facing this team. And yeah, I believe in Aaron Rodgers to change things around, turn things around, play better than he has of late. But I don't think it's ever going to look like MVP Aaron Rodgers.
So I want to go to something you said about the ability to stop the run. This year they bring in Jerron Reed. TJ Slayton's a big 320-plus pound body. Devontae Wyatt was supposed to fortify the defensive front. Kenny Clark has been a Pro Bowler. Dean Lowry, he's on again, off again at best. This was supposed to be a better team at stuffing the run. What do you see as the problem and the inability for this team to be better up front?
Well, one, they're kind of thin along the D-line, especially at edge in terms of guys getting on the field that you'd like to play the run. So you're playing Kenny Clark a ton of snaps. Right? You rather him not have that massive a workload. He's just going to be fresher and be better in the run game if he doesn't have to play that many snaps that he's played so far this season. And then after that, a rookie at the second level, Quay Walker's been a liability. He's been sticky. Offensive linemen get their hands on him any way they want to at the second level. So that's not good when you think about that they're trying to stop the run with light boxes. That's the way of the world in the NFL today. You better have linebackers that diagnose and can see things quickly. So they just got to try something else. I think the talent's there. They just can't play this hold your gap, try to play 2 gaps. They got to get a little more aggressive in the run game, get guys coming downhill a little bit more, try to get some negative plays as opposed to this kind of bend, don't break run game that is consistently broken that we've seen.
Yeah, and see, that's exactly what I was saying. When you look at the completion percentage of quarterbacks throwing 70+% at them, but then again, defensively speaking and yardage-wise, they have the least amount of yards given up via the pass. But on the other hand, the quarterbacks are completing passes against them, and they're moving the chains. The whole thing about not pressing, playing this soft zone, playing back, it's kept the defense on the field, in my opinion. Is that right?
I do think so. And it's kind of, you can play that way if you know you can stop the run. You can allow 4 or 5 yard completions if you know that next run's only going to go for 1 or 2 yards. Well, the thing is they're giving up these 5-6 yard completions, and then the run's going for 5 or 6 yards, and then they're doing it again, and it's like you're beating your head into a wall because it's the same story, different game sort of thing. So that's probably the most frustrating thing is that the lack of changes, the lack of – and now obviously they didn't lose this Jets game because of their pass defense, but the lack of anything different trying to play this run. They're trying to stylistically when obviously the results aren't there with whatever style they're trying right now.
Talking with Mike Renner, Pro Football Focus at PFF_Mike is where you can find him. Let's go back to the offense for a minute. Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon not racking up the yardage the way you might think he would, but Aaron Jones still their best weapon. I know they ran a lot of 2-back sets early on, and it seems like they've kind of gotten away from that. And then the success of continuously running shotgun seems to be decreasing. So far this season, they've run 191 plays under shotgun or out of shotgun and only 35 under center. Is that problematic as well?
I mean, that's what Aaron Rodgers has to do a lot of the stuff he does at the line of scrimmage, right? With quick passes, the RPOs, the wide receiver screens that they lead the league in right now in terms of wide receiver screens. I believe that they're just throwing a ton of quick games to try to alleviate the fact that, they don't have any semblance of a downfield passing game. So under center versus shotgun, I'm not sure you're ever going to see him go back to any under center routes. I just think the game's not trending that way. And again, like a lot of the passing game is predicated on shotgun stuff. So this is kind of what they've been doing in years past, and it just looks a lot different when you don't have the one guy that defenses have to worry about. It's probably the biggest thing, the biggest difference.
Is there a guy out there, because there's been a lot of talk about trades, is there a guy out there that you think would make sense and really help this team?
Chase Claypool is the one that's gotten floated around, the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver, and I can't help but think that that's probably the one guy that I would point to as well. Just from a speed perspective, low 4.4s, big-bodied wide receiver. Obviously, Rodgers has loved that over the course of his career, guys with big catch radius, the back shoulder stuff. Claypool can do all of that. So he immediately gives you a downfield threat, immediately gives you another big body for the red zone and stuff like that Rodgers has been so successful with. So I don't think there's, it's always difficult to add a guy mid-season. But if, you're the Packers situation where you're at with Rodgers' deal right now with, after he retires, it's basically over from a cap perspective because he's still going to count so much in your cap. You got to move some chips to the table. You got to maximize this window. So I know they've never done it in years past, but would not surprise me if that changes here at the deadline.
Is there a value that you believe Chase Claypool would pull in?
I don't think the Steelers would ask for too much, right? They're so bereft of young talent at the moment. They obviously realize they're not going anywhere this year. And they have a stacked wide receiver room now with the addition of George Pickens and with Deontay Johnson getting a new contract to where that's an expendable piece. So first round pick, I don't think it's going to take. I think it'd probably be a second and a fourth, maybe something in that range for a guy like Chase Claypool, who, hasn't had a 1,000-yard season, but obviously wasn't working in the most high level passing offense last year. So still young, still a year left on his deal after this to where I think that probably is what he ends up or would end up getting moved for.
Great stuff as always, man. Mike, I appreciate it, and we'll talk again real soon, okay?
For sure, Bill. Thanks so much.
There you go. Mike Renner, Pro Football Focus, joining us for a couple of minutes on the hotline. And a sad day for our own Ben Kenny producing the program. Josh Hader comes in, strikes out the side in the ninth inning, and the San Diego Padres win Game 2 of the NLDS, tied at one game apiece with the Philadelphia Phillies now. As the Phillies had the lead, and then, boy, a 5-spot the Padres put up in the bottom of the fifth, and, man, it blew the game open. From that point on, Hader comes in and shuts it down, and, man, that's painful on two accounts. One is the Phillies lost, so Ben relatively sad, and the second one is they get the nail driven into their hearts by one Josh Hader, former Milwaukee Brewer. When we come back, it's time to make some picks. We're going to do that. That's coming up next in the Bill Michaels Huddle.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Good to have you. We are broadcasting live. We are at Joe Mama's here at Colegate. Good to have you on board. Thanks to Mark and Henry that both live in the area, stopped by, and wanted to say hello. Also to, I apologize, Dak, I know your name, your wife, you introduced to me, and I completely forgot it. I apologize. Dak said he was going to be listening on the way home. So my apologies, Dak, and if you want, you guys can come in and beat me with French fries, I guess, might be the best way to put it. That being said, it's time now to start making some picks this week. Interesting week of football. Obviously, the Green Bay Packers need a big win. You've got some divisional battles as well, but you got some good games. You got bye teams this week. The Vikings on a bye, the Eagles on a bye, the Rams on a bye, and the Bills on a bye. 4 really good football teams on byes this week. So that will leave us with some other games to get into. You got the Saints sitting at 2-4 playing the craptastic Cardinals, who are also 2-4. The Cardinals have been unimpressive. The Saints have at least battled. I just don't think they have enough in the tank. Cardinals playing at home in this one. Ben Kenny, I'm going to go with the Cardinals at home to go to 3-4, and the Saints season to be circling the drain at 2-5.
Ooh, Cardinals haven't won at home yet this year, kind of inexplicably. This is a big, the loser's truly done and truly dead for the season. The winner thinks they're okay, but really they aren't because they're also bad. I think the Saints win. I think Cliff Kingsbury's gone soon. And by the way, I'm emotionally distraught right now.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to do these picks.
I was going to say I saw the Phillies go down. That fifth inning did them in, and then Josh Hader, like I said, put the final nail in the coffin. So that kind of added insult to injury, to say the very least. You've got the Browns on the road at 2-4, taking on the Ravens at 3-3. I just don't think the Ravens, one, lose at home. Two, I don't think they lose to the Browns. I'm going to take the Ravens to go to 4-3, Browns 2-5 on the season.
Ooh, tough loss for the Guardians and the Yankees in Game 5. I think yesterday, MLB kind of rigged it, canceling Game 4 and raining it out to let the Yankees bullpen get back to full strength. I think the Browns come out with a chip on their shoulder. I think they come out motivated, especially after what's gone on in their state in the fishing world. So I think the Browns win.
You got the Buccaneers. There's no way they lose to the Carolina Panthers or Tom Brady will lose his damn mind. Buccaneers get a win. They go to 4-3. Panthers 1-6.
I think this one's going to be close, Bill. The CJ Cup is in Carolina this weekend. I would expect the Panthers to be fired up for that after returning from overseas. The tournament is. So I think they cover the 11, but lose.
Okay. Falcons 3-3. Cincinnati 3-3. As much as the Falcons have been kind of just a pesky team, I think Cincinnati being back at home, going to do good things. Joe Burrow has kept me alive when it comes to fantasy. I'm going to take the Bengals getting the win over the Falcons in the jungle.
Yes, I'm on Cincinnati as well. Reds fans are kind of checking their morals right now with Dusty Baker. Great guy over there in Houston, and with a cheating franchise, a somewhat scumbag franchise in the Astros. So their fans are checking morals, whether they want Dusty Baker to win, and that has nothing to do with the Bengals. But the Reds fans, I figure Bengals fans. I think the Bengals win.
There you go. Cowboys get Dak Prescott back. He has been medically cleared to play in this one. Looks like he will be under center. Cowboys at home taking on the Lions. Lions coming off of a bye. They need this one. Dak's return, not good. The upset is the Lions on the road in Big D to beat the Cowboys in Dak's return.
Oh, I love it. You took my pick. A lot of controversy with Mr. Jerry this week, telling Robert Kraft to go F himself at an owners meeting. So, yeah, the Lions come in. A lot of distractions over there in Dallas.
Yeah, Lions coming in on bye. I love it. Jaguars 2-4, Giants 5-1. Jaguars have played good, not great. Giants have played good, not great. Jaguars at home to get the win. I don't know why I'm feeling it. I just am. I'm taking the Jaguars.
I completely agree. I think they're favored. Doug Peterson knows how to beat the Giants. This is a true, if the Giants go and win this game, then I'm an idiot and the Giants are actually good. But I'll hold out for one more week and pick against them.
Then you've got the Colts on the road, 3-2-1 against the 3-2 Titans. Titans coming off of a bye. I think the Colts are good. They're not great, and they're going into Tennessee. Tennessee needs this one to get on top of that division. I get Tennessee at home. I just picked up Derrick Henry on the waiver wire. I think he runs, grabs me a couple of touchdowns, gives me some points. I'm going with the Titans to beat the Colts.
It's all about your fantasy team, Bill.
It is.
There's way too much blue in this game. I always think that when I watch it. And the Colts Titans has been a pretty much division deciding game as of late. I think the Colts win this one. I don't know why. I just do. But I'm not going to watch it because I have a problem with how much blue there is on the jerseys.
You're out of control tonight. Let's do this. We're going to step away. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the second half of our picks, including the Green Bay Packers on the road taking on the Washington Commanders. Stay right where you're at. We've got more. We're at Joe Mama's in Colegate, Wisconsin. Stay tuned. We're bringing it to you live. Compliments of our friends at Bud Light. The Bill Michaels Huddle continues after this.
This is the Huddle with Bill Michaels on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
The official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. Ben Kenny producing the program. We're going through our picks for the upcoming weekend. So far, we got the Cardinals winning at home, the Ravens at home, the Panthers losing at home to the Buccaneers, Cincinnati at home getting a win, Dallas getting upset by the Lions, the Giants getting knocked off by the home Jaguars, Tennessee at home getting the win. We now go to the Jets and the Broncos. Jets at 4-2, Broncos at 2-4. If the Broncos think, even in the Mile High City, that they're going to be able to keep Russell Wilson upright, I got another thing coming for them. I think the Jets get their 5th win of the season against a rather inept offense that is out there in Denver, and Nathaniel Hackett taking a lot of heat, the former offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, and for Matt LaFleur. The Broncos are going to go to 2-5. The Jets go to 5-2. Ben.
Bill, I have a question on this one. Who do you think's more injured? Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson, because he has to watch Wisconsin and NC State play offense, especially the latter without Devin Leary, or us for having to watch him play offense in the Broncos?
I think we're worse off. I'll be honest.
Okay.
Just because the Broncos are hideous. They're
all right,
terrible.
I'll take the Jets.
Yeah, I'm taking the Jets. You got the Raiders at home at 1-4. And Devontae Adams pining for the good old days when he was on a winning football team against the Texans, who are traveling to Las Vegas, who are 1-3-1. I'm taking the Raiders at home reluctantly. If there was a draw or just an ugliness to this game, I'd probably take just the ugly factor, but I'll take the Raiders at home to get the win.
Pick a tie.
Right? Wouldn't that be great if the Texans were 1-3-2?
That'd be terrific.
That
So
would be awesome.
this one's tough to handicap. The cameraman tries to get Devontae Adams arrested. Meanwhile, the Astros are still playing in the playoffs and completely buzzing and trying to put the cheating ways behind them. It's hard to go either way on this one. I'll take the Raiders.
Okay. Seahawks at 3-3. Surprisingly, I just picked up Tyler Lockett in my fantasy league. I'm praying for him. In the meantime, the Chargers, they did not. Their defense still pretty good, but they didn't look much better than what the Denver Broncos put up. But I'm going to take the Chargers because they are at SoFi. They are at home. Chargers get there very quietly. They'll stack 5 wins this season. Seahawks go to 3-4.
I have a vendetta against the city of San Diego right now, and everything that has ever inhabited it, including one Chargers. I know, but they were in San Diego.
They got out because of the Padres. They hated the Padres too.
Well, if that is the case, then I would pick them this weekend, but I'm picking the Seahawks. The scene at Petco Park, Bill, is frankly ridiculous. You have Bill Walton sitting behind the plate, blocking people's view. There are thousands of empty seats. I can't watch it. It infuriates
the majesty that is behind the plate as the ball breaks with the circumference spinning wildly as it approaches the plate, only for the hardwood and the ash to make contact. It is a beautiful thing.
The wall in left field is a joke of a wall. It's more of a slight bump up in the grass. So, yeah, I'll take the Seahawks.
Okay. Meanwhile, the Chiefs 4-2, the 49ers 3-3. I think the Chiefs are starting to roll and starting to feel it. I'm taking the Chiefs on the road to get the win.
Here's some real handicapping, real analysis.
Okay.
When Patrick Mahomes loses at home, I don't have the stats on this, but I would assume he bounces back with a pretty dominating victory. Meanwhile, the Niners, especially on defense, are very injured. I think the Chiefs win very, very big.
Chiefs big, and then we got the Steelers at 2-4. The Dolphins getting Tua back, and they say he is, quote, laser focused. Dolphins at home, and it looks like it's going to be 173 degrees on the Steelers sideline and a cool 71 on the Dolphins. I'm going to take the Dolphins at home.
It's kind of a quarterback roulette situation here where you could get Pickett, you could get Trubisky. Likely Tua's back, but if you don't get him, you could get Bridgewater. But if not him, maybe Skylar Thompson. I don't know. It truly lies on that position. I will take the Dolphins as well. I was going to go to baseball for that, but I decided not to.
Matt Jones at home, Bailey Zappi at home, whoever you're going to get, and the Bears on the road sitting at 2-4. And Justin Fields, who is all but ruined now as a quarterback because the team and the franchise stink so bad. I'm taking the Patriots at home. I was thinking Pittsburgh Pirates. The Patriots at home, and Bill Belichick to outduel. And I feel bad for Mike Tomlin because this is going to be his first losing season in the history of his coaching career, but as a head coach. And I feel bad, but nevertheless, Mike Tomlin's going to lose, and so will the Chicago Bears.
You're thinking about baseball.
I am.
This game's clear to me. I don't understand why Robert Kraft is getting married during football season of all times, bringing Tom Brady there.
You know why?
Maybe it's a tactic to make them play bad.
Because the credit card bill from the massage parlor is about to hit, and he's trying to get her married to say you're mine before she can say to heck with you, old dude, and take off. How old is she, by the way?
I need to look that up. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Granddaughter age.
Yeah. Robert Kraft's new wife, I think, is 16. So I'm not sure. I'm not positive, but I think she is. Yeah. So there you go.
But yeah, I'm going to take the Patriots because Mr. Bill up there is all about winning. I wonder how New England deals with Jerry going over to Mr. Kraft and telling him to go F himself at the owners meeting.
Those
Again, the story circulating the world. I think the Pats win, though, because Mr. Bill will get them ready.
I heard they settled their differences over a massage. That was just, he gave him a new razor and massage, and that was it. So, there you go. And Jerry took that and traded some brisket with him. So we don't know what was massaged, whether it was Jerry or the brisket, but we all know it was weird. So there you go. So
go ahead. Bill, she's 47, by the way.
47.
So
How old is
go
Robert
either
Kraft?
way.
Like 106?
He's 81.
Yeah, he's getting up there.
You're talking a late child or an early grandchild.
Yep. She's taking the wrinkles out of it, no doubt. The Yankees and the Astros tying up at 1 apiece right now. ALCS Game 1 getting underway, and the Yankees, I'm hoping, beat the Astros, even though I can't stand the Yankees, can't stand the Astros. Phillies lose today. Coming up on Friday, Ben, you've got Suarez on the hill against Musgrove. Who wins that one between the Phillies and the Padres?
I don't know. I'm distraught. I'm sad. Probably the Padres. You get the Philly fanatic in a home environment, though, and
is that
he's
what
a different breed.
Okay.
He is the difference, single-handedly. I don't know. I'll deal with it on a Friday.
And real quick, Badgers.
They lose.
They lose?
Purdue's going to throw all over them.
Okay. Just checking. So there you have it. That's all of our picks. Good God.
Oh, we didn't do the Packers game.
Oh, that's right. Packers Commanders. I got the Packers winning on the road. Packers are going to say 23-17. Packers get a win.
Real quick, after Oklahoma State's I'm a Man, I'm 40 rant 15 years ago, they beat Sam Houston State 39-3. Ron Rivera went on a similar rant last week after their loss. I'm picking the Commanders.
All right. Wow. Okay. Can't wait for the weekend now. Holy moly. There you go. That's it. Thanks to the staff and management and the gang here at Joe Mama's. As we wrap up, people start to say, okay, that's it. Time for us to go. So that's what I'll say.